Hi all, it's the beginning of September and I thought I'd give you a bit of an update at Don't Crop With Me Now. So I'm going to show you around at some of our crops that are doing well and maybe some of the crops that are not doing so well. So if we look at the top end of plot 4, there's my mum. She's come to help out for a bit, so hello mum. So we've got this bed. This is the bed that we planted all those second crops in. So we've got here some kale for next probably January to February hopefully. We've got some dwarf beans that are just beginning to flower now, so hopefully we should get a crop from those. We've got the Allotment peas and the Show Perfection peas that went in really late. They're not flowering yet, but we'll see what happens. It's quite late, but you never know. It's worth a try because this would have been an empty bed really. Here we've got potatoes that have not been cropped. You can see the little stalks from the potatoes. So each of those pots the lowest was about 2.5 kilos up to about 5.5 kilos in one of those pots. And we've got a number of pots along here, probably about 14 pots there, and probably about another 4 to 5 that are just in a different place on the plot. So let's have a look at some of these greyhound cabbages. One in there, look. Parting up okay, much better than I thought it was going to be. A little bit of slug damage on the outer leaves. We've got a full bed of those, and there's some red cabbages just at the end. This is my pumpkin patch, which has gone pretty mental. It's out of the bed and over the next bed. The main ones I've got are these Cinderella, I can't remember the actual French name, but Cinderella pumpkins, which look quite good. Some blue Hubbard squash there in this bed. And then we've got another bed, you can see look, it's basically taken over right through here. We've got some butternuts here, which again set really late, but we've got lots of these nice small butternuts really, so hopefully they will ripen up and will be just a perfect size for eating, so I'm actually really pleased about those. We've got the dahlias, which had to tie up because they were just flopping over. This orange one in the middle is a really old plant. It's been there probably about 4 years. I've had to split the tubers a number of times. It's just humongous really, so I think I'm going to have to split it again. But it's a really lovely plant. Look at those flowers there. My courgettes are really over to the marrow stage. There's a couple there, giant marrows. Raspberries we managed to tie up, so it does look a lot tidier on here. We only picked these a couple of days ago, and if you can see, there's still loads here. We've got the Swedes, which are just starting really to spread out, but if you see there's one there, so it's not bad. Not brilliant, but hopefully they'll swallow a little bit more. Again, more potatoes. You can see here when I haven't been very good at covering them up on the top, so definitely do that. Sweet corn has not been that good. Basically, I think the squirrels love sweet corn on this site. Oh, we've got a private Facebook group for our allotment grounds, and everybody's been talking about how squirrels love to eat their sweet corn. So, you can see here, squirrels. Again, they didn't grow very tall. I never seem to do that well with sweet corn, but all the people on the ground do. So if you've got any tips about how to get your sweet corn really good, I should really talk to some of my fellow allotmenteers because theirs is always way better than mine. Here we've got some spring cabbages, which I planted out. Some late crops of beetroot, so they don't actually look very healthy right now, but no worries, they will grow. I did put some Mizuna in here from that second sowing, which looks quite healthy, and a few pak choi, that one's going to the seed, and these ones are basically being nibbled to death. In behind it I've got some cauliflowers, so hopefully they will be ready over the winter, maybe in autumn really. So I've never grown cauliflowers out of the main summer season, so we'll see what happens. Some very overgrown kohlrabi, full of quite a few slug holes now. I don't even know what they're going to be like at this point. There's a few of them left. Some late cropping lettuce that I put in, so we'll have to pick that before the frost, but a little bit of late summer salads. And over there are actually some Savoy. I think they're actually autumn cabbages, but there's like a Savoy type. This is my Brussels cage, which is immense. It's actually the best Brussels, looking like the best Brussels I've ever had really. They're all nicely strong, they're tied up with canes, and let's have a quick look inside there. If you see, we're getting Brussels. Nom nom nom. Here we've got some green cobra and I think they're called purple TP climbing beans. These are insane. We picked a crazy amount from this, and there's still loads more. We only picked them the other day, and then I was walking down and I'm like, oh my word, look at all these ones we've missed. They've gone to seed. There's a load more there. We literally picked, I haven't weighed it, but it was like a carrier bag full to the brim, so you could hardly carry it. We've got cauliflowers here, which have actually done really well. So I wonder if they're hearting up in there yet. Can't quite see. We've had about 3 really good cauliflowers from there, so hopefully we'll get some more. The carrots have been pretty good. 2 of them went to seed. I don't know if that is actually a carrot that was left in there from last season, because I have been reusing this carrot bed because it's pretty much set up and I've just been mulching over the top, and I'm just going to replant in the same place. Obviously you've got all your pros and cons for that, but I'm just going to give it a go. It's pretty well covered. We've not had carrot flower or anything in there, so I'm just going to take the risk. So I don't know if that one there, all that seed, is actually from one plant. You see it there, and then there was another one that was somewhere over here as well, which I took out. So it's been weeded now. There's only a few carrots left at that end. I'm going to leave this, see if it drops its seeds, and then when we get any late carrot plants, because I'm figuring that the seeds are going to be as fresh as they can be, and we'll just see what happens with that. One thing that was not great is these peppers. They do look sad, don't they? They had that cloche over them, and to be honest, they just grew really tall, and I don't think I could I watered them enough, to be honest. So we have got some tiny, really rubbish peppers. That one doesn't look too bad there. They're not that great. I've uncovered them now. We can see they've still got some flowers, and it's a little bit late, but at least they're going to get the rain, and you know, you live and learn, don't you? Another thing that wasn't that great, again, was my aubergines, which cost me a fortune because I bought some grafted plants. And you can see here, the plant's looking a bit sad because, again, I haven't watered them enough. There is one aubergine there, but that's the limit. Quite a few flowers, which I've had time, I'll have to open for the bees to get in there. So I've covered it up now, and I'm going to see if I get any tiny aubergines. So it's not the best success, that. Sweet peas are all going to seed and drying off, so I'm leaving this because I'm going to collect the seed. So a lot of the other crops have been harvested. I've got some beetroot here. That was that late sown beetroot that went in. And a really late sown climbing squash, which is flowering. It's got some tiny fruits there. So I think it's a Japanese one. Is it called Uchikuri or something like that? Well, we'll just see what happens with that. So that is plot 4. And from the front, plot 4. We are now over to 2B. So again, we've got another load of raspberries. I've tidied these up and tied them in. You can see it's a little bit messy around them really. Again, loads of raspberries. I only picked them a couple of days ago. The figs have been amazing this year. Even this tiny little fig tree has had about 12, 15 figs on maybe. And this is a baby, which we took from the other fig tree over there. So really pleased with that. Another crop which has done crazily well is these plums. I'm not sure what plums they are. I'm starting to think they might be a damson, but it was definitely labelled as a French type of plum. But if you can see up there, all these plums, I have picked probably 30 pounds of plums off this tree, and there's still all these up there. Most of them are frozen, and I'm making some into, I'm going to call it Urmston black butter, a bit like Jersey style black butter with plums and apples in and spices. It's in my slow cooker at the moment. It's been in there nearly a full day. Got a few apples here. This is a really new tree, needs standing back up again. I did manage to pick all the black currants. We had a really bad infestation of wasps around this plum tree, which was spread all over these black currants. So for weeks I literally could not get anywhere near them, but I have managed to pick those now, so I'm actually really pleased with that. So that is 2B. Not much else on 2B because we've really picked most of the crops on here. Let's go and have a look at 1B. Compost. So we're around to 1B, and you can see the greenhouse. The chilies have done well. We've got some jalapeno here. Here's where I was meant to put all chilies in here, but I clearly have got some peppers, so they've done better than the ones that were under the cloche. So more jalapenos, and again this is the pepper, it's red. We've got these long thin ones here. You can see them better, a little bit better here. They're called spaghetti chilies. They're maybe like really long ones. You can see there. There's a really long one. No idea how hot they are. A load of Apaches, which are one of the ones that we grow in the main really for cooking. They're doing really well. These are cayenne. A few more Apaches there and a cayenne. I do not know what that one is, this one. It's one I got from our plant sale at the allotment, so I literally have no idea what that is. So time will tell whether it's hot or not. On this plot, the wind's really got going on this plot, and that bean tower there, which is butter beans, and those 2 bean towers there, which are all the beans for drying, were completely flattened by the wind. So I came down and they were nearly on the floor, but all the roots of the plants were in. So at this point, not all the beans had set, and they were all quite small, so I didn't want to lose my entire crop. So I put up these structures which are attached to, they're attached to the greenhouse there to hold it up, and that one is attached to that tree. And actually it's been really windy over the last couple of days, and they're still standing, which is amazing really. I'm actually really surprised. So I've got here, these are gigantes butter beans, so you can see this hidden in there. There will be quite a lot. There's another one there. I'll keep them for drying. We have got some ballottis. These look great. Again, I'll leave them on there for drying. I'm not going to eat them fresh now because I've got so much other stuff to eat fresh. These are runners, so we've been picking these to eat, but I'll leave these for drying as well. I really like to make falafel out of these. And this one is, I think, a French bean type cobra. That's a ballotti, I think, that's just escaped in that direction. It might actually be a mix. There were just some plants I had left over which I stuck on here, so that's definitely a ballotti. But that is definitely a climbing cobra bean. So again, I'm going to leave them for drying. We had some mange too there, which I'm leaving to collect those for planting again. And then we have got, oh look, a giant fig. Let's take that. Just dropped it. Yummy yum. Put that in my pocket. Some peas here, which I'm going to keep the seeds of, and then we've got a bit of bindweed that clearly is under there. So I'm just, at the moment, I'm ignoring that, because when I take that out, I'll try and pull most of the root out and mulch over that. I'm just leaving it in at the moment because I want those peas. I'm going to collect them for the seeds. We've got leeks, which are looking pretty good in there. Chrysanthemums, which are only just starting to flower, which is a little bit poor, but it's the way it is. So there's actually some really nice yellow ones. I have no idea about chrysanthemums, so I just ordered these plants. I think you got 4 or 5 plants from Thompson & Morgan as small plug plants. I actually wanted to enter them in our show just for a laugh, but the show was a couple of weeks ago, so, and they're only just starting to flower. But looking at them, they are quite nice, aren't they? And the ones, these are starting to flower as well. So I don't actually know what types these are, but hopefully they'll be nice. The gladioli just about finished. I've got some late planted celeriac in there. Got a load of strawberry runners, which I've just pulled out from over there because I want to redo that strawberry patch. It's got a few weeds in it and it didn't crop that well this year. You are meant to replace your strawberries every 3 years, so I'm going to use some of these, and then another plot holder is on the other side of the site, has the most juiciest tasty looking strawberries I've ever seen, so I'm going to ask him if I can have some of his runners, and I'm going to put them in as well, so hopefully make my plants a little bit better. I mean, some of them, these ones were actually quite good, and they were from plants which were hidden around those red currant bushes, so I know these are the good ones, so I'm going to hopefully get really good strawberries next year. My sort of wildflower patch here, still doing well. Got some cornflowers there, nice bee on there, and a load of these calendula which have gone to seed. So again, I'm going to let these seeds drop here, and then I will collect a few as well. And then what I've done is anything that I've taken out of these beds, because I know they'll have loads of seeds in, I've only put in this compost bin, and then I will mulch over when that's composted, because I know it won't get that hot, so it'll probably have all the seeds in, but I don't mind because I'll just keep them in this area, and then we can just have some flowers continuing in that area. That is bits which I need to move to my main compost heap, unfortunately full of all those canes there, which has come from that, which again I'll just sort of cut out. It's not actually a really invasive bamboo, that has been there as long as I can remember, which is at least 15 years, so it's not too spreadable. It sent a few through that, perhaps I've just given it all that good nutrition by putting that stuff there, so I'll deal with that later. These scrappy bits of plastic were given to me by the lady that lives in that house there. She didn't want them, so I'm going to use them over some roof structure. They look quite bad, but I'll patch them up just so I can collect some rainwater. Herbs all need a good cutting down there, I've not done that. And pond's looking well, a little bit covered up. Then I've got these perennial sunflowers, which are really beautiful, but they are very, very invasive. But I do like them, so I just sort of cut away at the roots just to try and control it every year. But if I step back, they do look great in that flower patch there. It's really pretty, so I'm not too bothered. And then you can see my main other flower patch, which is quite overgrown at the moment. A bit at the back there obviously is covered in that weed. Can't remember what that's called, but I really hate that weed. It grows from sort of some really big white roots, so that's all going to come out really. And then I am going to get that shrub out, the one with the yellow flowers, and then a lot of these flowering perennials I'll just try and prune down really and then make this a little bit more controlled, this bed, because there are some nice things in there. excuse me, because there, look at that, it's well hidden, that hydrangea. That probably comes to life if I allow it a bit more space. And the magnolia is good. Again, needs a bit of a prune. Oh look, it's got a flower. Right. So that is 1B. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the tour today. Just give you a better picture of the plot in the background. You can see some of the things that are going well and some of the things that maybe aren't going so well. We've been growing for around 15 years, and every year things are not good. You know, you have good things, you have your bad things. So if it's your first year, really don't worry. Every year you'll have something that doesn't do very well. It's always a learning curve. You're learning all the time in gardening, and also a lot of the factors in gardening are quite unpredictable. So if you've got a crop and it hasn't done very well, doesn't mean don't try again next year. You know, next year we might have the best sweet corn we've ever grown. So you just live and learn. You learn from what you've done well and what you've not done well, and there's always that hope. That's what gardening is about. So happy gardening from Don't Crop Me Now.